Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Rosmo. Okay, alright, here we go. We're gonna be talking about this movie that is called Arthur and the Invisibles. And I have very mixed feelings with this movie. To clarify though, this movie was not my childhood. So I did not watch this with rose-tinted lenses, nor did I get nostalgia out of this. So yes, this is the first time I'm watching this movie. Now before we dive into my opinions about this movie, let's check its background first and foremost. Now Arthur and the Invisibles, or Arthur and the Minimoys, was made back in 2006. And you can tell, yeah, it was directed and co-written by French filmmaker. The story is based on a children's book named Arthur and the Minimoys and Arthur and the Forbidden City. Now, I didn't notice at first watch, but this movie is hefty when it comes to its cast. Not only did they get Freddie Highmore, you know, someone you may know from many films, but initially I remembered him from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Then there's Jimmy Fallon, who played Beta, Robert De Niro, Snoop Dogg, David Bowie, Madonna, Selena Gomez in the second movie, I think. You see what I mean? I didn't recognize them when I was watching though, but it's still good to know. So this movie starts off as a live-action type of movie, and we meet Arthur, a 10-year-old boy working on a irrigation system. Not really something I'd expect from a 10-year-old boy, but you know, first time for everything. We learn it's his birthday and his parents can't make it, and he gets upset, and rightfully so. Because right now they seem like loving parents, but they're kind of not, and I'll show you later. His grandma is the only one looking out for him now, and she's having her own problems, like finding a way to get money to pay debt, rent, and all the other expenses, while they find a way to keep the house before they get evicted. Also, they lost electricity. So, now Grandma tells Arthur stories of his grandpa, who is missing, and talks about the Minimoys. And Arthur gets a little crush with the princess of the Minimoys. I don't know why this scene is a bit awkward, but it was... It kinda was. Then as the grandma sells grandpa's belongings and ancient artifacts, Arthur finds his grandpa's secret message and goes off to find the Minimoys. He wants to find the treasure his grandpa hid so that he could pay for their house and not get evicted. So then he becomes a Minimoy, met Selenia, the princess of the Minimoys, who he has a crush on, and even gave a weird kiss on her picture before going off on an adventure.
I hope I have the honor of meeting you one day, Princess. In the meantime, permit me to steal a kiss. Jealous.
And also he meets her brother Beta. Then they go on an adventure to stop the evil M. They go off to different places, defeats the evil M, along with getting his grandpa's treasure and his grandpa, and saves the Minimoys along with keeping their house. So, you know, all is good. Now you may be thinking, whoa, I think you skipped a few details there. I did. But here's what you'll get if you watch the whole thing, and might I add, as an adult, it weirded me out. There's just a teeny tiny bit. First, we learned that Arthur has a big crush on Selenia, which any 10-year-old kid would have, like they get this little crush on girls older than them. But then we meet Selenia, who seems like a curvy adult, or at the very least a teen. And there's a bunch of weird scenes with her, like these ones.
I've got an idea.
Hey, just because we're gonna die doesn't mean you can start taking liberties.
No, you got it all wrong. I need the lace to reach that tree over there.
I'm not so sure about this idea of yours.
Well, I'm sure.
Arthur?
Hey, take it easy.
If you want to find a husband in 2 days, then there's no time to lose. But I can help you out if you like.
Oh, that's sweet of you. Thanks.
I like to help out. Besides which, things are pretty tame right now. I only have 7 wives.
Wow, 7 wives. That, must take a lot out of you.
I like hard work. I can work night and day, 7 days a week, and I never get tired.
Wonderful.
Which gets weirder when you find out that she's actually 1,000 years old, which, in human years, that's 10 years old. That's what they said. I'm not making the rules.
Are you really gonna be 1,000 years old?
Yeah, we count the years in selenial blossoms. Selenial's the royal flower.
Ah, okay, and selenial. So how old does that make me?
About the same age as me.
Wow, that's...
Then Arthur's parents come back suddenly with no explanation and then doesn't seem to care that their son is missing. And that bad parents plot was never used at all other than a handful of scenes. And then it was never brought up again in the end. I don't know why they made it like that. Also, they had this weird parts like these.
What's wrong? No, the phone's cut off. It doesn't work. What is wrong?
Out there.
What's out there?
5.
5 what?
Black.
What are you you talking about?
Now let's talk about the story of Arthur and the Invisibles. Don't get me wrong, this is not me about to trash on this movie. By my first watch, I felt like this could have been a movie I would sit down in front of the TV on a Saturday morning and just watch the hell out of it. As a kid, at least. It had a good lesson and it had lovable characters. There were great lessons to learn as well, and I need to stress that if you look at this movie in the eyes of a child, I think it's a really fun and magical movie. Watching it now, though, it was not great, and the animation did not age well, and I'll talk about that later, but for now let's focus on the story and plot. When I talk about the plot, it can be divided into two parts. The grounded family story of Arthur and his family problems, and then there's the adventurous Minimoys part. The first one I absolutely love. The relationship of Arthur's grandma and the struggles of the grandma being portrayed really made me care for her and Arthur's situation. In the Minimoys case, I didn't enjoy it as much because I didn't see the 10-year-old Arthur that I've gotten attached to in the first 30 minutes of the movie. Though it did have some funny scenes like showing how they travel or sleep, or how the human world is connected to the tiny world of the Minimoys, as shown by how Arthur's irrigation system affects the Minimoys negatively. Those scenes were really cool. As much as both plot lines are fun and good in their own merit, I can't say that both sections of the story fit well together. The intimate and personal family story Arthur has with his grandma and parents doesn't fit well with the fantasy adventure story with Selenia and Beta. I get that it's supposed to be magical and unusual, that should contrast well to the mundane and grounded plotline of Arthur's family situation, but it feels like both are disconnected from one another. It's like a one-shot episode where there's story A and B, and then at the end they just connected each other instead of both stories constantly affecting one another. It would have been cool to see the grandma or the people taking their home just to start messing up the land, and it affects Arthur's journey. Or if Arthur's journey, instead of helping his grandma, actually does the opposite. But overall, the plot was enjoyable if I pluck out the weird scenes with Selenia. Now let's talk about the animation. The animation did not age well, and this was in 2006, where movies like Cars Over the Hedge, Ant Bully, Backyard, and Monster House came out. The animation is clunky, and unlike Monster House, who used it to their advantage with the creepiness, Arthur and the Minimoys made it feel like it was an old-timey cutscene with the wonky movements. The texturing is great though, but it doesn't carry the animation because of the movement. Arthur's design was surprising and weird. Honestly, all of their designs are weird except for Selenia. They really carved Selenia to be the perfect girl where little boys can have a crush on, and I could tell. Now let's zoom straight to the characters. I really liked Arthur's character, where he was being portrayed as this kid who misses his parents, helps his grandmother whenever he can, and doesn't give up hope and keeps the magic in his eyes. That Arthur was very lovable and great.
Granny, they've cut the phone line. Don't you see what's happening? We've fallen into their trap and it's closing in on us a little bit more every minute. But as long as I live and breathe, they're not gonna get this house.
The other Arthur, on the other hand, where he is this powerful savior and all-around great at everything, and was just thrown every problem his way and solves it like no sitch, I wasn't very fond of. Because when he was with the Minimoys, he seemed very You know, the reason I liked the character at the start was because everything was against him. And as a little kid, he couldn't really help, but he still tries, and I can't help rooting for him to succeed. But as a Minimoy, I don't even have to cheer or root for him. He fixes the problem lickety-split, bruh. You know what? I'm gonna say it. Minimoy Arthur is like the Kirito for kids, you know, where you can self-insert yourself as the hero that saves the day. When I looked at it that way, then I can see the charm of it. It's a fun movie for a kid. Like, as a kid, I probably would have admired Arthur, not gonna lie. Now let's go to Selenia. Now, I mentioned before that the writers made her eye candy with those butt shots and one scene where Arthur took her lace, which is weird because they revealed her to be 10 years old. I don't even like calling her eye candy because she shouldn't be. But the earlier scenes give off that kind of vibe, especially since her voice sounds like an adult woman.
Father, now that the sword has been freed from the stone, we must act fast. I would like your permission to continue.
Because her voice actor is an adult woman. Selenia was voiced by Madonna, where in this movie came out 2006, she was 48 years old, if my math is right. Aside from that weird fact about her age and everything, her character was great. They didn't make her to be the damsel in distress, neither did they make her the rude, bossy girl. She's brave and temperamental, but she has a calm aspect of her that makes her a good leader and a skilled adventurer. I really like Selenia's character, but honestly, it would have been cuter if Selenia and Arthur didn't have such a straightforward, serious, romantic relationship. With the fact that they're 10 years old, it would have been cute and wholesome to see them be shy and hesitant in discovering their little puppy crush with each other. That's just me. Then we have Beta, which I really liked. He's very bubbly and funny at times. There's not much done with his character. He's the exposition giver as well as the comic relief, which makes him all around more likable in the midst of Mr. Perfect Protector Pete and Sassy Serious Sally. I don't know why I made those names like that. I could have just used their own names, but you get my point. I can't forget about Arthur's grandma. She is the MVP. She really cares for Arthur and tries not to have Arthur worry about the problems they're facing, like the debt his parents keep adding up or the inevitable eviction as well as their lack of money. She doesn't make him worry or show that she's struggling as much as she is when she definitely is on wit's end, let alone making him shoulder the weight of the problem. I really felt bad for her when Arthur tries to find the treasure and becomes a Minimoy. She really thought Arthur was gone like her husband, and even put him in the box where she counts the days that passed without them. Grandma is the MVP. She is best girl, okay? Then lastly, a passing mention to Arthur's parents. In their first appearance, they seem like caring parents that are working hard to provide for their son, but due to circumstances, really can't be there for him. And that alone makes them likable. But then they revealed to be not the perfect loving parents at first glance. When they came home, they asked for Arthur, and when the grandma mentioned that Arthur looked for his grandpa's treasure, they immediately placed all their focus on the treasure. They forgot about their lost child, guys.
Since I made the mistake of letting him know about our money problems, he got it into his head to find the treasure that Grandpa hid.
What treasure?
Honey, what's the use of finding the treasure if Arthur isn't here to enjoy it?
Don't worry, Granny. I'm sure Arthur will be right back. He just took a little time off, that's all.
I don't really see them as good parents, but I still can see that they care for Arthur. They just care for money more. In conclusion, did I like this movie? No. I don't even care if people who love this movie and have a nostalgic wave come at me and attack me. I really did not enjoy this movie. I at least could bear the first 20 minutes. That I can honestly say was bearable and okay. I enjoyed that. Do I recommend it though? To those who watched it, yeah, I recommend it. I recommend you rewatching it, but for those who haven't watched it at all, don't watch it. Save yourself the trouble. Hindi kawalan. Wag na, guys. There won't be revisions with Rosmo since I've mentioned before that the only thing I wanted to revise is Arthur and Selenia's budding romance and maybe changing Selenia's voice to a 10-year-old kid like Arthur. But I can't make a whole segment on that with sketches since I'd be talking about and changing so many scenes and so many parts of dialogue. So just imagine. But yeah, when I made the community post, you guys mentioned that this is a trilogy, which I don't really want to dive my toe back into another Minimoy related movie, but if my patrons asked for it and made me suffer, I have no choice. Speaking of patrons, this movie was requested by my patron Cross. Thanks Cross, I will bleach my eyes now. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next ever heard of, which is the most requested Jack and the Cuckoo Clock Heart. So yeah, big shoutouts again to my wonderful patrons. Amanda Ron Idenge, Kyle Chua, Christian V, and Cross. Very cool people. If I could grab a Coke and chuck it at them, I would. Lovingly chuck it at them, of course.